Welcome back, everybody, to Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Minimalist Run, where we just completed the most boring dungeon in the entire game. And bless you, Link. That was quite the sneeze. And we got the handy-dandy iron boots, which, by the way, we'll be forced to use to get the heck out of this cavern. And as we use it, we will get into the first problem for going underwater and being unable to climb back up to the surface. We have a breath timer, and we will drown if we do not go up to the surface of the water. So we need to fix that, and fix that quick. But before we do, we need to stock up on some red flames, some red fire. So yes, just when you think you're done with the dungeon, it just sucks you back in. So no, we have to backtrack a little bit into the dungeon and get some red flames. If you had multiple potion bottles, we'd be able to do that quite easily before we even leave. But no, we have to backtrack because we only got one potion bottle. We can only hold one flame at a time. So we are not done with the dungeon just yet. So we got to catch one more blue flame in a bottle and bring it to King Zora. Got to unfreeze him from the ice, and he will solve our underwater problem quite easily. That is such a random thing, though, if you think about it. A spinning guillotine type blade just in the middle of an ice cavern. There's so much nonsense in this particular cavern. There's even a red ice block here you can melt for no reason at all. So, that horrid area is done, so now we move on to a not as horrid, but just as confusing and no less infamous water temple. It's quite infamous for being the most confusing dungeon in the entire game, and dare say it, the most confusing one of recent memory in most Zelda 3D Zeldas. It has got to be so deviously designed. They even made... There's comics about it. There's memes about it. Where there's a deal between... I saw one where it's between God and Satan. And Satan's just like, please, please, can I just design one thing? One thing! You get to do everything all by yourself. Why can't I have just one thing I can create all by myself? And God's like, fine, you can design or create one thing. And Satan's just like, excellent! And then the next panel's like, Water Temple! Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time! That's what he created. Yeah, that's... I wouldn't say that's accurate, but might as well be, because it's devilishly designed. To the point where I had a hard time getting through it. And you'll probably see my confusion as I'm figuring it out all over again for the first time. So, we unfroze King Zora, and as expected, he solved our water problem for us. We now have our third tunic of 3. Nice blue tunic. Looks snazzy. But it enables us to forever breathe under the water. No, it doesn't have some sort of crazy gravity suit option, like in Metroid, where you can move freely in water. No, it just means that you can now breathe underwater, and that's its only function. So, just hop in the water and take the current down. Now, if you came back to King Zora and did not have a blue flyer to unfreeze him, well then... Actually, I don't think it would have mattered anyway, because you needed the blue flyer to unfreeze the shop, for the shopkeeper. And then you'd still have to buy a blue tunic from the shopkeeper for like 300 rubies or some crazy amount. So it really doesn't pay to not unfreeze King Zora. You kind of need to. There's our trusty steed. Come on, Epona. Let's ride. And I think for the first time since getting Epona, we're literally now going to the other side of the field as an adult. Because we got as far as Lon Lon Ranch, and then we didn't go any further west. I just love riding Epona. I remember just spending hours just riding around in circles in Hyrule Field and just exploring to see all the different places I could go with her, or, you know, what areas that she wouldn't go and I'd have to go on foot. I just tested out a lot of things when I was younger. Things that I don't do so much in games like this. And now, with the new Breath of the Wind on the horizon, they now encourage you to go places and explore all the nooks and crannies of the world. Something that I haven't done since Ocarina of Time. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that. If you find my upload schedule has decreased by the time March rolls around, that's probably because I picked up my on-release day copy of Breath of the Wild, and I'm gone from the world for a couple weeks. See you guys later! So, Lake Hylia is really not what it used to be. It's now nothing more than a small pond at this point, but now we get to see there's actual an entrance, and we can actually reach it now that we have the boots. And you'll quickly find out, as you're underwater, you will not be able to use any items except for one. The hook shot. Again, this is the power of observation that is the key here. You have to know that there's something special, a switch that opens up the door, and you have to realize it's that diamond up top. And then, of course, you got to hit it with your hook shot. You got to connect the pieces in your mind, and sometimes not everybody does that. Not everybody sees the logical solution to that problem of getting into the water temple. Okay, now the water temple. First and foremost, there is a method to the madness here. You kind of want to do everything as much as possible, explore every area, get every key as you can before moving on to lower or raise the water levels. So every time you lower or raise a water level, go back and check to see all the areas that you could possibly access and try and get as many keys or open up as many doors as possible. And then if you've exhausted all your options, then go back and raise or lower the water levels as you see fit. And then do another round or loop of the water temple to see where you can go next. I think this particular single method of going through the water temple, a lot of people have either adopted or just don't get, and so they're continually confused. This was me not realizing where I was going. Like, even now, I still know where I am. So those mantis enemies from Jabu Jabu's belly are back. And they're even more annoying when they're fully underwater. Camera's not helping. Not one bit. And to top it off, the camera's still not helping. Well, you'll notice that there's a lot of hookshot targets in the water temple. And there's a reason for that, because you're going to get an upgrade to your hookshot. Now this seems like a simple puzzle. You just stand close to the chest. And of course you need to be quick on the draw or you're not going to get the chest before the water comes back up. That has got to be the shortest timer in this game. Tell me if there isn't another shorter timer than this. Hey, we even found the compass first. And we probably found it early, too. Earlier than we probably would have. I think you're supposed to find it as soon as, you raise the water level. You, like, drain it all the way down and then raise the water level up once, and then you'll find your compass then. But I think we did things a little out of order by accidentally falling down onto the second floor. But hey, I'm not complaining. That's one less area I have to explore later. Oh, and there's Ruto! Grown up and as beautiful as she can be as a Zora. What, you don't recognize your fiancé? Apparently he didn't. You're a terrible man. You're awful for keeping her waiting, Link. How could you? She was waiting at the altar for years. Aw. At least her dad got survived now. Whew. She's still bossy, though. Now, I don't know what happens to Ruto after this. She goes up in a very awkward fashion. I would not expect Zora to be that graceless. But she is. So whatever. But you follow her upwards and she just disappears. And there's nowhere where she could have just disappeared off to. There's very few places where she could be, where she could go. So something tells me she met an awful fate, and she has reawakened as the Sage of Water. I was always scared of these particular enemies, especially when it was underwater and they were coming after you. Like, it was one thing if they were on the ground like this and I could easily maneuver around them, but it was quite another when they were not just going after me, but literally floating through the water towards me, and no matter where I ran or where I went, they would follow me. And it was just so freaky when I was younger to play this game, and these spiked balls were just trailing me through the water. I didn't like them. In fact, this whole dungeon was really upsetting to me. Because I think I mentioned once before, I don't like deep water areas where I can't see the bottom, or there's stuff at the bottom where I just don't. It's the fear of the unknown in deep water that I just don't like. It puts the fear of death, of dread in me. And so, being in deep water in games like this with monsters or enemies that can track you down through the water, it just unnerves me quite a lot. That is a huge fall. And this actually is a puzzle I didn't really figure out until much later. You're supposed to shoot through the flames at the torches on either side, and that opens the door. That is something I could not figure out when I was younger, at least not without help. I didn't connect it in my mind that the center torch could be used to light the unlit ones on the sides. Oh yeah, and these monsters. These monsters were the bane of my existence. Trying to figure out the right timing to hit their insides and still not get hurt or even hit them on the first try. And what is the camera doing? Like, I seriously thought I had to come back here with something to light the torches. No, the torch in the middle is what you need to light the others. Couldn't figure it out for the longest time. And this is me going in a location or an area of the dungeon where I think it's actually completely optional. You don't need to go to this area. At the time, I didn't realize it when I was recording that, because, again, hadn't played in a while. So I was kind of going off of rough memory. But if you're going for all the golden Skulltulas, then I do believe this area you do kind of need to go to. For the Skulltulas. Ah, yes, these clams underwater. Thankfully, I still remember the timing. I love how the game sometimes tricks you, where you're like, I should probably rise up, take my boots off, and rise up to the top of the surface of the water. But then, as you rise to the surface of the water, you realize that you should have actually stayed down below with your boots on, looked up with the hook shot to climb some targets. This is my controller not working with me. So obviously, this was me just kind of wandering around, what am I doing? There's a golden Skulltula. That's for 100% folks who like to get everything in a game. Me looking around, I'm like, is there somewhere extra I need to go? Some special switch? Is there a chest with a key? Is it behind this grate? How do I hit that switch? I think the solution is a spin attack. I think that's the solution. I don't think I got the memo. That was the solution, so I just like, you know, this probably isn't a worthwhile area to explore. There's probably no key here. Me making mistakes, yay! And so you see the frustration of using the iron boots in the original Nintendo 64 version. You have to continually go into the menu to turn it on and off your feet. In Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda 3DS, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3DS, they pretty much put it to a hotkey. But we're going to stop here for now, and we'll continue on in the next video. See you later.